happens when you stop pretending you can do it all? Your body knows the truth. You're not lazy, you're not broken, you're just doing something unnatural by trying to be everything. What we're calling independence these days, it's just exhaustion in disguise. You weren't built to do life alone. And the story that says you should, it's a big, bold lie. This is The Unhappy American, a short-run podcast calling out the lies, flipping the script, and giving you real tools to take your happiness back. Because you don't need to do more, you need to do different. Subscribe now, not to the life they told you to want, but to the one you choose. Lone wolves die first. That's not a metaphor, it's biology. A wolf without a pack doesn't survive long, and neither do we. Yet here we are, glorifying the grind, worshiping the myth of the self-made man, pretending real strength comes from standing alone. It doesn't. Real strength is collective. And what we're calling independence these days, it's just exhaustion in disguise. You weren't designed to be your own village, your own therapist, your own childcare, your own emergency contact, but we reward it. We hand out medals for burnout. We call it pride, grit, success. And behind the scenes, we're in the middle of a loneliness epidemic. 1 in 2 adults in the US reports feeling lonely on a regular basis. That's more than diabetes, more than depression, and the health risks are just as deadly. Loneliness increases your risk of early death by 26%. That's the same as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. This isn't just emotional, it's physiological. You weren't built to do life alone. And the story that says you should, it's a big, bold lie. We've been sold the image of the rugged individual, boots on, jaw clenched, doing it all alone. But that story is fiction. Even the Lone Ranger had Tonto. Even superheroes need sidekicks. Even cowboys rode with crews. But American culture clung to the myth. We built entire systems around it. We told ourselves real leaders don't need backup. Asking for help is weakness. Connection is a crutch. And worse, we started believing it. But biologically, it's nonsense. We are a social species. We evolved in tribes of about 100 people, sharing food, childcare, labor, protection. Interdependence meant survival. When you feel overwhelmed trying to hold everything alone, that's not personal failing. That's a mismatch between your wiring and your culture. Because the system rewards performance, not presence. It tells you, you don't need anyone. Don't slow down. Don't let them see you sweat. And so, we isolate. We armor up. We fake self-sufficiency while quietly unraveling. But the science doesn't lie. The Harvard study of adult development, the longest running study on happiness, found that the single biggest predictor of health and fulfillment isn't career success, it's relationships. Not hustle, not IQ, not financial freedom. Connection. That's the edge. And when we ignore that truth, we get what we have now. The Surgeon General calling loneliness a public health crisis. Rising anxiety, rising suicide rates. Entire generations who don't know how to ask for help without shame. Look, you didn't come up with this script. You inherited it, but you don't have to keep acting it out. So what happens when you stop pretending you can do it all? For starters, you breathe. You stop performing strength and start practicing shared humanity. Simon Sinek said it best. We don't build trust by offering help. We build trust by asking for it, because asking is vulnerability. And vulnerability is what makes people feel safe around you. Trevor Noah called it uranium-enriched friendship. And he's right, because when you let people in, when you work on friendship, when you stop treating it like a bonus and start treating it like the point, everything changes. In their conversation, they weren't just talking theory, they were talking reality. That we've over-optimized our lives for performance and under-invested in the relationships that actually hold us. Now, this isn't a manifesto on being more social. I'm an introvert after all. But it is a practical reclaiming of how we live. We're wired for connection. Asking for help isn't just practical, it's neurological. When someone supports you, both brains get a dopamine hit. Mutual aid doesn't just bond us emotionally, it feels good. But vague cries for help don't work. If you say, I'm just overwhelmed, people want to help, but they don't know how. And when people don't know how, they pull back. Not out of apathy, out of uncertainty. So what do we need to do? We need to say what we need out loud, directly. Can you sit with me while I sort this out? I need help with groceries this week. Can you check in on me tomorrow? It might feel awkward at first. That's just unlearning. But the more you do it, the easier it gets on both sides. You stop assuming you're a burden. They stop assuming you're fine. That's connection built in real time. Next, we need to normalize community. Look, you don't need a commune or a co-op to build community. You just need consistency, presence, and a willingness to reach out. In a culture that says, handle it yourself, choosing to rely on others is rebellion. Here's how you do it. You start a shared routine. A weekly walk, a group workout, Sunday night soup, no fanfare, just rhythm. You trade skills instead of favors. You cook, they babysit. They edit your resume, you walk their dog. Make support circular, not transactional. And check in just because. Not because there's a crisis, because that's what humans do. How are you today really goes a long way. Look, community doesn't always look like deep talks and matching tattoos. Sometimes it's dropping off soup. Sometimes it's texting, made me think of you. Or being the person who asks first. The more we normalize that, the less we need to be in survival mode all the time. Now, for leaders and teams, you need to build culture around support, not just output. Your people aren't machines. They don't just need deadlines and KPIs. They need to feel like someone sees them, cares about them, not just the results. So if you lead formally or informally, here's your move. Celebrate collaboration. Make emotional check-ins normal. Say, what do you need as often as you ask what the status is. And model asking for help yourself. Because workplaces where people feel safe leaning on each other are more sustainable. And right now, sustainability is a real competitive edge. Look, your body knows the truth. You're not lazy, you're not broken, you're just doing something unnatural by trying to be everything alone. Let that shit go. You don't have to hustle harder, you don't have to belong better. Because life wasn't meant to be optimized, it was meant to be shared. So, what does a happy American look like? Well, they aren't grinding alone in a silo. They're not collapsing at the end of the week with no one to call. They are surrounded, not with thousands of Instagram followers, but with a village of real, messy, reliable humans who show up. They have dinner with friends and let the dishes sit. They borrow sugar from their neighbor. They ask, "How are you really?" and wait for the answer. They measure wealth not just in net worth, but in friendship, in connection. They say, "I love you," to their friends, and they mean it. They stop sacrificing relationships for career, and they start redefining success to include belonging. That's not regression, that's evolution. So here's your move. Start small, ask for help, invite someone in, tell your people you love them. Let go of the rugged individualism myth and step into something bigger. Subscribe to The Unhappy American. Share this with a friend you haven't seen in months. And for you, start living like you belong, because you do. You weren't meant to do it all. We were meant to do it together. And in case you haven't heard this recently, you are loved. I love you.